Welcome back, dear viewers, and you're still watching The Breakfast Show. And in this segment of our program, we will talk about the U.S. Africa Leaders Summit, which is currently taking place in Washington with the participation of President Fattah Sisi. To shed more light on the importance of this summit, we are joined now by Dr. Yomn Hamaki, Professor of Economics at Shams University. Good morning.
Good morning.
So first, let's focus on the significance of the U.S. Africa Leaders Summit.
Actually, this is very important, taking into consideration challenges confronting the world economy nowadays.
Yes.
And we can see that the major question nowadays, after the pandemic, COVID-19, and the Russian-Ukrainian war, is to how extent regionalism and versus globalization, you know. And globalization nowadays is witnessing, you know, a question mark regarding whether it's going to be continued in the same shape and direction as it used to be before such challenges. And from here it comes that there is a tendencies toward polarization in the world economy and going towards more, you know, regionalization as well as polarization. And we witness that when we can see to how extent United States is trying to attract some of the world countries towards, you know, westernization. This is one tendency, and the other tendency is Russia and China going towards Asia. Actually, China is taking a unique position in the world economy and, you know, managing to a large extent to continue its, you know, progress towards gaining momentum in the world economy by being the first economy in the world and challenge United States in this position. From here it comes that, you know, the evaluation of United States towards, you know, to how extent United States has dominated the world economy as the first power economically and the country that is issuing the dollar, which is dominating the monetary system. You know, when we revise the situation, we can see that for the last period, China has gained momentum towards, you know, penetrating Africa.
Yes.
This is number one. Towards making some kind of economic relations in Africa. Economic relations started to be in a comprehensive way, which means that they are investing, they are giving aid, you know, they are making infrastructure. And they are making these countries indebted to China on guarantee of natural resources. From here it comes that the dominance is becoming quite important and strong. And you know, when you have such a diffusion of economic relations, it becomes a country is going to be attracted, and when you see the reflection of that on the trade and investment between China and the African continent, you can see that this has gained, you know, momentum, a very important momentum during the last 2 decades. And from here it comes that when you make that, you are excluding other economic power like United States, and the revising from United States to the situation like what happened with the Middle East by United States, you know, when you revise the situation by United States, it has been quite clear that United States need to approach the whole world, and Africa is a very important continent, since Africa is representing 1/5 of the population of the world from one perspective. From another, it is, you know, it is quite important for climate change, for example. When we talk, and COP27 has proved to a large extent to how extent, you know, Africa is having very important potential towards participating in the activities of addressing climate change by mitigation and adaptation, but still the continent is suffering from severe problems, unemployment, poverty, you know, and we witnessed during COVID-19 that the continent cannot actually approach the, you know, the need for medical equipment and so on, and we witnessed to how extent that all the foreign aids that have been provided for all the countries cannot reach the requirement of the continent. From here it comes that the revising of such a situation has proved to a large extent how United States should approach the continent in a different way. It is not the dominance, but partnership. And this is quite important when we talk about one of the, you know, expected result of such summit is that the African Union is going to be a part of the G7. This is one of the expected results of such summit, to declare that African continent is going to be a part of G7, which means that
the group of industrialized countries?
Yes, the G7 comprise industrialized countries to run and to monitor the world economy. And from here it comes that this is a declaration that the African continent is going to change its, you know, position in the world economy, and to be integrated in different way as a partner rather as countries to be dominated
so this
by
is the way of
westernized countries. So this is a new approach.
Merging
it's
the African countries.
It's not a new approach actually. It started, this approach started after the financial crisis, when Western countries, on top of them United States and European countries, you know, that they have been convinced that United States and Europe cannot, you know, dominate the world economy. There are other parts like China and Asia and developing countries that they should participate, you know, positively in the progress of the world economy. And from here it comes that, you know, from the financial crisis till now, there is great tendency towards integrating Africa into the world economy in a different way, as partners, as participating more in different way, participating actively in decision making regarding the world economy. And this is actually the approach or the visionary approach behind such summit.
Yes, so you are talking about the importance of facilitating the merge of the African countries into the world economy. So, and boosting also African-American partnerships to confront the food security crisis. So these two main issues are expected to be tackled in this summit. So if we talk about confronting food security crisis, how can the African countries and the United States cooperate to face this crisis?
Actually, food crisis is quite related to poverty, is quite related to, you know, reducing the pace of developmental process in the continent. The continent is relying on just cultivating, you know, raw materials and export them into Western economies. Industrialization is not going well. The country is in a severe lack of technology, because you cannot achieve food security, you cannot achieve industrialization without technology. So we need to transfer technology into the continent. And I think that, you know, a speech by exterior minister yesterday, American exterior Blinken,
yes,
he mentions that Africa is in deep need not to aid but to technology, to transfer, you know, types of technology, and what we can talk nowadays, digital technology,
Yes.
is quite required in the continent in order to activate using their resources in a better way, economically in a better way, so that this can be reflected on the economic performance. And when you have a rate of growth in such countries, in African countries, you can address the high rates of unemployment, you can address poverty, and by that you can address the problem of food security, taking into consideration climate change.
Yes.
A lot of issues have been raised in COP27 regarding the potentialities of the African continent in mitigation. And to our, we need some kind of partnership towards, foreign direct investment to come and to invest. We have to address forcefully the vision of the multinationals during colonization, which means that multinationals in African countries used to actually exploit resources against the interest of African people and for the interest of multinational. We can see quite well a lot of even movies have proved that, and a lot of studies have proved that these multinationals, they haven't been quite beneficial to the economic growth of the African continent. They exploited them in a fiercely way against their interests. And from here, we need to change such approach. We need to have, the relations between countries and countries, not companies and countries. This should be changed completely. And I believe that during the presidency of Egypt to the African Union, Egypt exerted a very good effort towards, revising plans for economic growth, how the African continent should be integrated into the world economy, what about the value chain, and how the African continent can benefit from being integrated into the international value chain. And this all can enhance investment, and by that you can address unemployment and poverty. The problem is about, the institutional capacity building in the African continent, the problem about corruption, the problem about peace and security. Still in the continent you have conflicts.
Yes.
These conflicts are affecting seriously
development,
the potentiality for achieving a better economic result. So how to address such challenges?
Yes.
I believe that we need a lot of efforts to be done to address these challenges.
Also, we have, as you've just said, the challenges facing the African countries. Also, one of the challenges is healthcare or disputes, insecurity. So, do you expect that these challenges will be addressed in the conference?
Yes, actually, all these challenges are quite interrelated. Because when you have a problem in education, you have a poverty.
Yes.
You have, you are not capable to, use your resources efficiently.
Yes.
So, the income, your income and your GDP growth is quite, less than the population growth. So the standard of living is going to be affected negatively. And from here it comes that you are not going to have adequate resources to address health requirements. You are not going to have financial resources for a better education. So all these problems are quite interrelated. Poverty, and problems in education. And this is what we can call building human capital, because education and health services are the cornerstone for building human capital. And if you don't build human capital in the right way, so you are not expecting that you can, run your resources in a better and in economic way and in efficient way. And from here it comes that by addressing such challenges, you have to start by, how to use your resources in a good way and for the better of the people in the countries, the African continent. We have done, and there are a lot of, action plans in the vision of 2063 for the African continent. Hopefully that some countries can be able to, develop such action plan and go forward towards a better results. Still, we have a very important way to do that. Nowadays, we have a free market economy or a free trade area among all the African continents that we are, as African countries, we are working quite hard to achieve a better results, because when you have a free trade area, it's not easy to make the institutional capacity building, the right institutional capacity building, what our action should be done, how to use comparative advantage on a global, as on the level of the African continent, rather than country by country. The continent used to have different free trade area like COMESA, like ECOWAS, and so on, but the experience proved that they are not interrelated. They are affecting affecting negatively each other, which means that we need to, the harmonization of this effort should be by having a free trade area for all the African continent. We are working for that and for activating such free trade area. When you talk, the summit is a very important opportunity to talk, as a continent, not as country by country. And when you do that based on a very clear approach and vision towards what we need as a continent, what are our priorities, first to activate economic growth, to address unemployment, to use our resources efficiently. These are quite clear objectives for the African continent to be addressed, and to specify what are the requirements, what we need from other countries, how to build our relations on a mutual benefit rather than by being exploited by these countries, referring to trade or investment.
Yes, also Africa is a raw continent.
Yes.
As we all know, it is full of energy resources needed, minerals and energy resources needed by the rest of the world. It is also young, connected, and increasingly urban.
Yes.
So how can we make use of all these resources and cooperate with the African countries to utilize these energy resources, especially that we have an energy problem now?
For our experiences, as we have a lot of studies regarding experiences of developing countries, and specifically the African continent in compared to other countries that have succeeded to achieve a better economic result. We can see that the most important challenges that may prevent the African continent from being in a better situation on the world economy, because you can regard the African continent as the most, continent suffering from poverty.
Yes.
So
still it has many resources, but suffering from poverty.
Very rich. It's
Yes.
not many resources. The continent is very rich in resources, but as I mentioned, they are exploited for benefit of multinationals rather
Yes.
than themselves, and they need to change this approach in cooperation with the summit. Is a very good opportunity to revise. When you have, we have finished a summit, China with Arab and Gulf countries, United States with the African continent. So the African continent nowadays is in, in forefront to revise all these international economic relations and to specify what are the priorities to deal with. This is a very good opportunity for us because we have investments that may come from all parts of the world, so we can revise which type of investment can be better for our country, for exploiting our resources, for increasing employment, for upgrading skills we can have. We can deal differently with multinationals when they come. We have to make our conditions regarding how to use our resources, how we can use their experts into upgrading the skills, into transferring technology, into enhancing the quality of life for Africa. So a lot can be done. And from my point of view, it refers to ourselves to build, African continent should build themselves. They are not waiting for other countries to come and to build them. You have to make your homework by yourself. You have to assume your responsibility. And nowadays, it's a golden opportunity to use these resources and to use these potentialities in the benefit of your countries. And the vision is existing. What we need, how to implement. And when we move to implementation, which is actually the core dilemma of our countries as developing countries, you have to revise your institutional capacity building, to how extent you are able of implementation. Are you referring to the best skill resources or no? Do you have a system of monitoring and evaluation in order to monitor to how extent you are achieving results? And actually, one of the what has been declared by United States that the cooperation with Africa started in 2014,
yes,
and then has been, paralyzed till now, and then they are revising again this summit. But they put a very important condition, that they are going to build a system of monitoring and evaluation.
Yes.
So building the system of monitoring and evaluation is quite important to guarantee that there is going to be results from such cooperation.
Yes, finally, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Yomn Hamaki, Professor of Economics, St. Shams University. Thank you for being with us. And dear viewers, by that we come to the end of our first segment for today. Stay tuned, we'll be back.